Ever feel like you're just drowning in to-dos?
Oh, tell me about it.
Right. Between work and life and, just trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
It's tough to find time for everything.
It is.
So when you sent us that article about Neuro, this AI app that's saying it's the ultimate productivity booster,
Right.
well, my ears perked up.
Yeah.
It promises to handle like everything from writing
Yeah.
to, crunching data to
Uh-huh.
even making those visuals that you always wish you had time for.
I was looking at that, and what really caught my eye was how Neuro is going for this like all-in-one approach.
Yeah.
We've seen other platforms try to be your one-stop shop,
Yeah.
before, but this
Yeah.
seems different. It's like they're trying to like weave AI into how we work, not just
Yeah.
tacking it on,
Yeah.
not just a gimmick.
No. And they're not shy about the claims either.
Oh, no.
Like time-saving, cost-effective, scalable,
Yeah.
constantly learning. Sounds almost too good to be true.
It does.
So help me out here. Is this the AI revolution we've
Yeah.
all been waiting for, or is this just clever marketing?
I think it's definitely ambitious.
Okay.
I'll give him that.
Okay.
But I think we need to kind of unpack it a bit.
Okay.
What sets Neuro apart, at least from what they're saying in this article, is just how much it claims to do.
Yeah.
It's not just a writing tool or data analysis. It's
Right.
trying to be like the platform you run your whole work life from.
Okay, so instead of having like a separate app for everything,
Yeah.
it's like this central hub that handles it all.
Yeah, and I can see the appeal of that, especially if you're, someone who's constantly switching between
Right.
tasks and programs.
Exactly.
And they're really betting big on the power of AI to make that, seamless.
Yeah.
So think about it.
Okay.
You're drafting a blog post, you need a quick infographic to go with it, and then you have to analyze some sales data before you answer all those emails. Neuro claims to handle all of that,
Wow.
using AI to learn your style and predict your needs, to basically become an extension of your own thinking.
So it's like having an assistant who never sleeps.
Yeah, like a really, really good one.
Yeah, I'll admit, that's pretty appealing.
Right.
The idea of AI taking over some of those mundane tasks.
Yeah.
But let's get into specifics here.
Okay.
The article highlights a bunch of features: AI-powered writing, image generation, task automation, even working in multiple languages.
Uh-huh.
Walk me through how those actually work, because
Yeah.
AI magic doesn't really cut it for me.
Fair enough. Let's start with the writing.
Okay.
From what they describe, Neuro uses something called natural language processing, or
Okay.
NLP for short. It's been trained on like a massive amount of text data,
Oh, wow.
learning patterns in language and grammar and even different writing styles.
Mhm.
So when you ask it to draft a blog post, it's not just pulling from a template. It's actually constructing sentences and paragraphs based on what you tell it.
So it's like having a ghostwriter who's read, like,
Yeah.
every book and article ever written.
Yeah.
That's both impressive and a little terrifying.
It is. It's really pushing the boundaries of what AI can do. And the same idea applies to image generation.
Okay.
Instead of text, it's been trained on a huge library of images,
Uh-huh.
learning to recognize patterns and create new visuals
Okay.
based on your prompts. Imagine being able to say, I need an infographic showing these 3 data points in a modern style,
Right.
and having Neuro generate it in seconds.
Okay, now that would be a game changer, especially for someone like me who's,
Yeah.
shall we say, visually challenged.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also hearing alarm bells in my head.
Oh, yeah.
If AI is doing all the creating, what happens to, our own skills? Do we become so reliant on these tools that we forget how to write or design ourselves?
That's a really valid concern,
Yeah.
and one that comes up a lot when we talk about AI. It's not about replacing human creativity, though, but more like augmenting it.
Okay.
You're still the one steering the ship,
Right.
providing the ideas and direction, but AI takes care of the heavy lifting, the repetitive tasks, so you can focus on the bigger picture.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this could be more than just a shiny new toy.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the task automation piece.
Okay.
The article throws around terms like, streamlining workflows and intelligent automation.
Yeah.
What does that look like in practice? Are we talking about robots taking over our jobs?
Not quite robots, but definitely smarter systems.
Okay.
Okay, so imagine you get like dozens of emails every day asking the same questions.
Right.
Neuro can be set up to analyze those emails, understand what they're asking, and then automatically draft a response that's personalized and relevant. Or it could scan your calendar and prioritize tasks, remind you of deadlines, even suggest times for focused work.
So it's like having a super efficient personal assistant, like you said, who never sleeps.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm starting to see why you called this an ambitious platform. But all this talk of AI and automation,
Yeah,
it's a bit overwhelming.
it can be.
Is this something that's only going to be accessible to, really tech-savvy people? The article mentions entrepreneurs, students, creatives. They're casting a pretty wide net.
That's a really key question, and one we need to explore further.
Yeah.
Because if Neuro is truly going to be this revolutionary tool, it has to be something that anyone can use.
Right.
Regardless of, their technical expertise. And that means a user-friendly interface, intuitive design, and a learning curve that's manageable for, the average person.
Right, because what good is a superpowered AI
Exactly.
if you need a PhD in computer science just to figure out how to turn it on?
Exactly.
The article does talk about a user-friendly interface and regular updates, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, yeah.
Does it sound like something that could actually live up to the hype?
Well, that's where we have to separate the marketing from the reality.
Right.
They're obviously going to emphasize the ease of use.
Yeah.
But, the proof is in the pudding, as they say.
Right.
We'd need to see it in action, try it out ourselves, and compare it to other AI tools on the market to really get a sense of how user-friendly it is.
Okay, so the jury's still out on that one.
Yeah.
But let's assume for a moment that Neuro is as intuitive and easy to use as they claim.
Okay.
What does that mean for all those different groups they're targeting?
Right.
How could Neuro actually benefit, say, an entrepreneur versus a student versus someone working in a creative field?
That's where it gets really interesting because the potential applications are so vast.
Yeah.
For an entrepreneur, think about all the hats they wear. Marketing, sales, customer service, data analysis.
Right.
Neuro could potentially automate or streamline a lot of those tasks so the entrepreneur can focus on strategic planning and growth.
And what about students? I remember those late nights, researching and writing papers.
Absolutely.
Could Neuro actually make student life easier?
Totally. Imagine being able to research a topic, gather sources, and even get help with outlining and drafting your paper all in one platform.
Wow.
Or think about managing your study schedule, setting reminders, and organizing your notes. Neuro could be a game changer for students juggling classes and deadlines.
It sounds almost like a personalized tutor and study buddy all rolled into one.
It really does.
Okay, so we've got entrepreneurs and students covered.
Yeah.
What about creatives? How could Neuro help them unlock their creative potential?
This is where the image generation and content creation features could really shine.
Yeah.
Imagine brainstorming ideas, generating visuals for mood boards, and even getting help with writing copy for social media posts or marketing campaigns. It could be a really powerful tool for creatives who are looking for inspiration and efficiency and just a way to bring their ideas to life more easily.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture here. This isn't just about automating tasks. It's about giving people the tools to work smarter, not harder.
That's exact.
But let's be real. No technology is perfect.
Right.
There have to be some downsides.
Of course. And that's what we'll dive into next.
Okay.
Because while the potential benefits are exciting, we also need to think about the potential pitfalls,
Right.
the ethical considerations, and the broader impact of AI on the workforce.
That's a really good point. We can't just get swept up in the hype without considering the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So stay tuned as we continue our deep dive into Neuro and explore the potential challenges and implications of this, game-changing technology.
Picking up where we left off, you're right to be thinking about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the what of AI,
Right.
all the cool things it can do.
Yeah.
But the how and the why are just as important.
Exactly. And one of the things that keeps coming up for me is this idea of AI replacing jobs. Is that a valid fear, or is it more nuanced than that?
I think it's definitely more nuanced.
Yep.
The way I see it, AI isn't about replacing humans, but about changing the nature of work itself.
Okay.
Think about the Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
Machines took over lots of manual labor jobs,
Right.
but it also created entirely new industries
Right.
and opportunities. AI is likely to have a similar impact.
So instead of fearing job losses,
Yeah.
maybe we should be thinking about how to adapt and prepare for the new jobs that AI will create.
Exactly. And those new jobs are going to require different skills.
Well,
Critical thinking, creativity, problem solving,
yeah,
the things AI can't replicate.
right.
Neuro, in a way, is almost preparing us for that shift
Okay.
by handling the repetitive, time-consuming tasks, letting us focus on those higher-level skills.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But let's get back to Neuro itself.
Mhm.
The article mentions cutting-edge AI.
Yeah.
But I'll admit, I don't really understand what that means.
Okay.
Is it just a marketing buzzword, or is there
Yeah.
something truly innovative going on behind the scenes?
It's definitely more than just hype. Remember we were talking about natural language processing? Yeah.
For the writing features, that's
Yeah.
just one piece.
Yeah.
Neuro also uses something called machine learning,
Okay.
which is basically the ability for a computer system to learn from data
Yeah.
without being explicitly programmed.
Okay, so instead of a programmer telling it exactly what to do, it's figuring things out on its own
Right.
based on the data it's given.
Precisely.
Mhm.
And the more data it has,
Uh-huh.
the better it gets.
Yeah.
Think about how Netflix recommends movies
Yeah.
based on what you've watched. That's machine learning.
Oh, okay.
Neuro takes that idea
Mm-hmm.
and applies it to a whole range of tasks,
Okay.
from understanding your writing style to predicting your scheduling needs.
So in theory, the more you use Neuro, the more personalized and effective it becomes.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool, but it also makes me think about privacy.
Uh-huh.
What data is it collecting and how is it being used?
That's a critical question,
Yeah.
and one that we should all be asking when we're looking at AI systems. Transparency is key. Ideally, Neuro would tell us upfront about what data it collects.
Yeah, how it's used and what control users have over their own information.
Right, because we're not just talking about movie recommendations here.
No.
This is potentially accessing like our emails,
Right.
our calendars, our work documents.
Yeah, it's a lot of personal and sensitive data.
Exactly.
And that's where the ethical considerations come in.
Yeah.
It's not enough for AI to be powerful.
Right.
It also has to be responsible.
Right.
The people who develop these systems need to build in safeguards to protect user privacy and make sure that the data is being used ethically.
That makes sense, but it also feels like a lot of responsibility is being placed on the user to understand all this
Yeah.
and make informed decisions. How can we be sure that we're using these tools safely and responsibly?
It comes down to education and awareness.
Okay.
The more we understand about how AI works,
Right.
the better we are at making good decisions. That's why conversations like this are important. We need to demystify AI, break it down so people can understand and empower them to think critically about this technology.
So it's not just about learning how to use the tools,
Yeah,
but also understanding the implications, the potential risks,
Right.
and the ethical considerations.
exactly. And that goes beyond just Neuro. It's true for any AI system we use
Right.
because AI is here to stay and it's only going to become more integrated into our lives.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits of Neuro, the technology behind it, the potential for job displacement,
Right.
the ethical considerations, and the importance of user education.
Yeah.
But there's one big question we haven't talked about yet, the price tag.
Oh, yeah.
The article says affordable pricing,
Right.
but they don't give us any specifics.
That's a crucial piece of information.
Yeah.
And it's often missing in those early marketing campaigns. Affordable is relative,
Right.
What might be affordable for a big company could be way too expensive for a small business or someone using it on their own.
Right. And it's even more important when you consider that Neuro is being marketed as this all-in-one solution.
Yeah.
If it's replacing a bunch of different apps and subscriptions, the cost savings could be huge,
Right.
but only if it's priced competitively.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's where you have to weigh the value, right?
Yeah.
Does Neuro offer enough to justify its price?
Right.
And how does that price compare to other AI tools out there? These are questions you need to research before you decide anything.
It's like anything else.
Yeah.
You have to weigh the costs and benefits.
Exactly.
But even beyond the actual price,
Yeah.
there's also the time and energy it takes to learn a new tool.
Absolutely. There's a learning curve with anything new. And while the article talks about how user-friendly Neuro is,
Yeah.
it's still going to take time to get familiar with everything
Right.
and figure out how to use it in your work.
Right. Because sometimes even the most user-friendly interfaces
Yeah,
can still be a little, clunky
they can.
or confusing at first.
Yeah, it takes a minute. And that's important to factor into your decision.
Right.
Are you willing to put in the time to learn something new?
Right.
Or would your time be better spent on other parts of your work?
These are all things to consider. But ultimately, whether or not to use Neuro comes down to your own needs and priorities.
Exactly.
Uh,
There's no right answer for everyone. What might be a game changer for one person
yeah.
could be completely irrelevant to someone else.
It sounds like we're starting to wrap things up here.
Mm.
But before we do, I want to go back to the customer testimonials in the article.
Okay.
They're all really positive about Neuro.
They are.
But how much should we actually trust those?
That's a good point. Testimonials can be really convincing marketing tools,
Yeah.
but they can also be carefully chosen
Right.
or even made up.
Hmm.
It's always a good idea to be a little skeptical
Yeah.
and look for other evidence, like independent reviews
Right.
or comparisons to other AI tools.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in those glowing reviews,
It is.
but they're just one part of the story.
Exactly. To make a good decision, you need to look at the whole picture,
Yeah, I know.
considering different perspectives and sources of information.
Well said. This has been a fascinating look at Neuro and the world of AI.
It has.
I feel like we've covered a lot.
We have.
From the technical stuff to the ethical considerations and how AI could change the way we work.
Yeah, and we've only scratched the surface.
I know, right?
There's so much more to explore, especially as AI keeps advancing so quickly.
Right.
But hopefully this has given you some things to think about and some
Mm.
ways to navigate this exciting and complex world.
It definitely has.
Yeah,
And I'm sure our listeners will have even more questions and things to add.
I'm sure they will.
Before we go, I want to remind everyone that we'll be posting links to the article we talk about and other resources on our website and social media.
Right.
We always love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to join the conversation online.
And as always, we encourage you to stay curious, keep learning, and keep asking those questions. The future of AI is being shaped right now, and it's up to all of us to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time. You know, it's funny. As we've been talking about Neuro and what it can do,
Yeah.
I keep thinking back to something you said,
Mm.
that AI isn't about replacing us, but about changing how we work.
Right.
So that got me wondering, what does that actually look like? How do our jobs change as these AI tools become more common?
That's a tough question. A lot of people are asking it. There's no easy answer. But one big change I see is a shift from just doing tasks to focusing more on strategy and creativity.
Okay.
Take marketing, for instance. Instead of spending hours writing social media posts, an AI like Neuro could do that.
Right.
And that frees up marketers to focus on bigger things like campaigns and data and understanding customers.
So it's not that marketers would disappear.
No.
Their jobs would just be more about strategy.
Exactly. And we're already seeing this in other areas too, like healthcare AI can analyze medical images and help with diagnoses, which gives doctors more time to actually be with patients and focus on treatments. The point is, AI can handle the routine stuff, the data stuff,
Yeah.
that lets humans focus on what we're good at. Problem solving, thinking critically, building relationships.
That makes a lot of sense.
All right.
But it also shows how important it is to be adaptable and keep learning. We have to embrace new tech and learn new skills to stay ahead.
Absolutely. And that's where tools like Neuro might actually help. By
Great.
taking care of the boring tasks, they give us time and energy to focus on learning and growing and keeping up with these changes.
Like work smarter, not harder, but on a whole other level.
Yeah.
But you know, going back to the article,
Yeah.
one thing's been on my mind. They're really pushing this idea that you can totally transform your work life,
Right.
be more productive, achieve more than you ever thought possible.
Yeah.
Doesn't that kind of put pressure on us to always be on and super efficient?
Yeah. That's a really good point. And it's something we should be aware of. These tools, even though they can be helpful, could end up pushing us towards overwork and burnout.
Mm.
It's really important to remember that tech should work for us, not the other way around.
Right.
We have to set boundaries, take care of ourselves, and use these tools intentionally.
Yeah.
They should support our goals, not control them.
So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Using AI for efficiency, but also protecting our time, our mental health, and what matters to us.
Exactly. It's not about becoming some productivity machine. It's about working smarter and living better.
Well said. This has been a really interesting look at Neuro and how AI is impacting our lives.
Yes,
We've covered a lot of ground,
we have.
but I'm sure our listeners have even more questions and insights.
I'm sure they do. And that's what's so exciting about this. It's always changing, pushing the limits, and making us rethink the future of work and life.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, don't forget to check out the links to the article and other resources on our website and social media. We always want to hear what you think, so join the conversation online.
And keep being curious, keep learning, keep asking those questions. The future of AI is happening now, and we all need to be part of it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.